Thanks for joining me in my Stampin' Studio. Here's the card we're going to make today, which I think would make a great card for any guy at any time, but also I think a great Father's Day card. So let me show you what we use to make this. We're going to start out with a piece of the Dapper Denim in color cardstock, and this is 11 inches by 4 1/4, and I've scored it at 5 1/2. Then a piece of Real Red cardstock, and this is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and a piece of Whisper White cardstock, which is just a tad smaller, and this is at 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Then I have another piece of the Dapper Denim. This is 4 1/4 by 3 3/4, and finally a scrap piece of Whisper White. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. All right, so we're going to start out with a piece of the Whisper White cardstock, and I have a little cloud that I have punched out of Whisper White cardstock using the Tree Builder punch. So this also is used as the ice cream on the ice cream cone or the top of the cupcake. In this case, I'm using it as a cloud. And so with the Dapper Denim ink and a sponge, I'm just laying this on here, and I'm going to put it at a little bit of an angle, and I'm going to sponge around it. Doesn't have to be exact or anything. I'm going to take that off, move it over, and sponge some more. And I want kind of varying shades of the blue, so it doesn't all have to be uniform. And we'll stick one more right over here. Okay, so I've got 3 little clouds on there. Then I'm going to go ahead and ink this up again, and I want a little bit of a darker border along the bottom here. This is where the water is going to be. Just like that. And then I want to fill in the rest of the sky and just lightly over the clouds so that they're not super white. Okay, we've got that. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for right now. And then on this scrap piece of white, we are going to build the little sailboat. So the stamp set that I'm using for this is Swirly Bird. This is one of the coolest stamp sets. So many things you can do with this. And just looking at it, it doesn't look like that much, but it's amazing. We're going to use this for the boat itself. This is one of the sails, and here's another, and then the little flag on top. So, here we go. So with the boat part itself, I'm going to ink that up in the Dapper Denim. Okay. And then I'm going to use the little triangle piece. And this I'm again stamping in the Dapper Denim, but I'm going to stamp it off here first. And then right on top, like that. And next, we've got the little striped sail and Real Red cardstock. And this is going to go full strength here as well. There we go. And finally, the teeny tiny little flag, and that will be in the Dapper Denim full strength. Okay, so there we have our little boat. Move the inks out of the way and grab my scissors. Now a little fussy cutting, trimming around the whole thing. Okay, so there we've got our boat. I'm going to set that aside. And next, we're going to work on the waves here. That's where this piece of Dapper Denim comes in. And we're going to use this part of the Swirly Scribbles Thinlits. So let me get my big shot. I've got the magnetic platform, one of the acrylic plates, the Dapper Denim, and then the framelit itself, and finally we'll top it off with one more acrylic plate. Let me go ahead and run this through. And with this one, I like to run it through forward and then backwards just to make sure it cuts through all of those layers here. Okay, and then this is what we end up with. So if you notice, I've got this longer than what the cardstock is, and I figured it would be way easier to attach it and trim it off than having it the exact same size. So now I'm going to use the fine tip glue and get some right on here to stick this down. Okay. All right, I'm going to let that sit for just a little bit before I go ahead and trim off the excess just to make sure that those ends are down. And then I am using this stamp set, Perfectly Wrapped, and I'm going to use the Happy Day for You on it. We're going to stamp that in real red. And I have gone ahead and mounted, got something on there, mounted both of those images on the same block here. Get that inked up, and that's going to go right up here over the top of one of the clouds. Okay. Now, this is stuck down pretty good, so I'm just going to take my paper snips, flip it over, and trim off the excess here. Okay, so we have this, and then we're going to go ahead and start layering it. So this, which once upon a time was the Whisper White cardstock, we are going to stick this down on top of the real red, and if you notice, it gives me just a very, very small border around the edges, which is exactly what I'm looking for, just a tiny little pop of color. And then that is going to go on the card base, which I've got scored here and folded. This is going to go directly on here. Like that. And then let me grab my Stampin Dimensionals. And we're going to put a couple of those right on here. And plop that in the water. So what do you think? Isn't that adorable? And then you can go ahead and do whatever you want there on the inside. So really quick, really simple. I hope you enjoyed your visit today, and I'd love to have you come back another time. Thanks, and happy stamping!